Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert. Welcome to another live edition of the Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. Let me take a sip. I've gotten quite a few comments on my Supergirl outfit today. It's not really an outfit, it's just a shirt. Just coming from the gym as usual. So I'm very excited that my new masterclass called Never Ask for the Sale is going to be live next week on the 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And then we're going to have a second bonus day at the same time the next day. And I've been reading the forms of people who've been applying to come to this masterclass. And one of the things that I'm realizing is that a lot of people are attracted by the title because they hate to sell. They hate to sell. They hate being, it's in two camps. One of them is they're like professional sales reps and they're showing up. And the other is people who are afraid to sell. They have their own businesses, but whether they're afraid or not, they just don't feel very comfortable about it. So they're really attracted to the title of never having to ask for the sale. And so that made me think of this title and topic for today in preparation for that, because one of the reasons why I made this topic or I made this masterclass is not to cater to these fears, you guys. I made it because once you have certain things in place and once you have the right strategy and you're in front of the right people with the right strategy and you're talking about how to help them, you really never have to sell. In fact, that's been the case for me. And that's what I take people through. And that's what I'm going to teach, is how to go through those steps. But it doesn't mean that you need to be lost in the fear of selling. So I wanted to break down the fears of selling, and I wanted to help you, if possible, reposition them in your mind before the training, because I do not want you to show up because you're afraid of selling. When you are afraid of something and you're running away from something, you can never run to something. You can never overcome whatever that obstacle is in your mind. So I want you to instead reframe, reposition, and feel differently about the whole issue of selling. Because as my sales mentor once said to me, when I had expressed a fear of selling and a distaste for selling, he had said, if that's the way you feel about selling, you'll never sell. You'll never be able to sell anything more. And he was right. Once I repositioned how I think about it, everything changed for my business, because I don't look at selling as hurting people. I don't look at selling as something distasteful or uncomfortable. I look at it as serving people. I look at it as making them aware of a way that they never even knew about that could change their lives and have a huge impact on their families, on their mission, on their vision, on their income, obviously, but it's so much more than that. So let's dive right into it, because that's the way that I feel. I'm not a proponent of being afraid to do anything, but especially selling, because in my books, selling is serving. So here's the first fear is, and I'm going to back it up with statistics. So when I did the research on fears of selling statistics, guess for small businesses, which is, I'm catering to coaches and consultants and small businesses, and there is no research. There's no research that's been done on the fear of selling for small businesses, which is incredible, because it's one of the things that they suffer from the most, because that's how they can't grow their sales. They're always trying to hire someone else to do it. They're trying to hire me as a coach to help them do it, but they don't really want to do it themselves. They feel like if they pay for someone else to do something, anything, they can avoid the responsibility of selling it, and that their whole trajectory of their business is going to change. So the research that I found is crazy enough on professional sales reps. So imagine if professional sales reps have these 10 fears. Imagine what a business owner and a regular person feels. So amplify it, magnify it by 10 times. But I just thought this is a starting point. And one of the things that professional sales reps are afraid of, including everyone else, but the stat that I have is for the pros, is fear of rejection. Of course, HubSpot found that 40% of salespeople found that prospecting itself was qualified as the hardest part of the entire sales process. So, and so that due to the fear of rejection. And I actually even did a one of these lives on this guy who took a rejection challenge, and he tried to do things like he went to Burger King, asked for them to do a special cooking process for him. He went to a store and asked for them to make something for him. Like, he went through all these crazy challenges, gave them to himself just so he can face rejection. And what he found was that most people were accommodating to him, no matter how stupid or crazy. I think he wanted to be a greeter at a Starbucks, like a Walmart greeter, and they'd never had one. And the Starbucks manager was so happy with what happened, right? So these are the things that you find out when you're not afraid of rejection, because one of the things you could look at it as rejection is redirection. But the other way that you could look at it is it's just a challenge. And if you're afraid of the rejection, you'll never do it. So it's all about the mindset, right? Number 2 fear is lack of confidence, the 10 fears of selling. Sales confidence surveys show that 54% of sales reps report enormous stress around chasing. There's enormous anxiety around the chasing because of lack of confidence. So one of the things that I found that give confidence to my clients when they're going to be selling is, one, a crystal clear marketing strategy. And that's one of the things that I'm going to teach you in the Never Ask for the Sale. If you're super, super clear on your positioning, your targeting, what you bring to the world, what value you bring to these people, what problems they're suffering from, how they speak about it, where they live, where they, inhabit, where you can meet them and how you can talk to them. Once these things are super clear, you become really self-confident. And even if you are a sales rep for a much larger company, one of the biggest things, and I do work with sales reps in larger companies, their biggest fears are around the management not giving them a clear strategy and a direction of who to target, what to specialize in, how to position themselves, which product or service to sell first, what's the priority. They are just told, go find your own people, sell everything, sell to as many people as you can, and sell to everyone. So these are most of the reasons why sales reps and regular business owners are afraid to sell. Number 3 is communication skills. LinkedIn State of Sales report said that 39% of actual sales pros struggle with communication skills. We had record-breaking conversions in our one-liner marketing masterclass that I repeated 3 times. It was so successful. And the reason for that is because people are looking for a good messaging. Lack of communication skills is one of the biggest stressors that everybody is struggling with. How do we message what we're trying to say, what our company is, what their needs are? How do we message it in such a concise and succinct way that it's going to make an impact and stick to our target, whether it's on a social media post or in person where you're doing an elevator pitch or you're doing a live just like this? What are the messages? Okay, so communication skills is another one, and we're also going to be covering that. Number 4 is negative past experience. Oh my gosh, this is a huge one, not just for sales reps. I mean, imagine, I guess being a sales rep is kind of like being an actor where you're rejected all the time. And you just have to take a certain percentage of it as expected. And, almost like you look forward to it, because once you get so many under your belt, it means the next one is going to be a positive experience. So there's this research by Gong.io sales where they talk about how sales pros with rejection and lost deals are more likely to have sales anxiety, which is obviously not a surprise. But there's a correlation between, the lack of success and that anxiety. So if you yourself are coming from a space of never having done it, tried it once or twice and it didn't work, and I'm going to tell a story about how that happened for me in the training and how I overcame it. And it has to do with mental strategies. It has to do with crystal clear communication strategies. It has to do with a really sound way to move forward and a marketing plan. So, but again, I can give you the most perfect marketing plan, the most perfect strategy and messaging that's developed by the geniuses of the world. And if you don't have the self-confidence, you're never going to implement it. I have clients who spend literally months and months and months working on the perfect capability presentation, and they never deliver it because they are afraid of the rejection, of the failure, of when once they tried it and it didn't work. So you have to, that's the mental mind shift that you have to get over. And you have to, and if you need help, that's one of the things that I help with, my clients. You need to have some sort of mentor or somebody in place who has some experience in the success part of it, or is next a couple of steps ahead of you, has done what you've done and has survived and gone through that rejection phase to be able to lend you the confidence that they have in the ability for you to be able to learn those skills and to be able to close. Okay, so that rejection piece, that past negative experience is erased because you're borrowing a mentor's, a coach's, your boss's positive experience because it worked for them in that way. Okay. Number 5 is fear of judgment. Ooh. The Harris poll says that 17% of consumers find sales reps too pushy. These numbers are higher for B2B, by the way. And it depends on who you ask and what report you look at. But fear of judgment is a huge one. We're going to talk, there's actually another one where it talks about, the stigma, but fear of judgment of people. Oh my gosh, I hope you don't think I'm too salesy. I hope you don't think I'm trying to sell to you. In fact, I have so many clients who just give away free information without doing any selling. I've been on so many coaching calls with people that I wanted to hire, but they just didn't ask me the right questions in the right way and didn't do the right steps to be able to convert me. And I was a very warm lead, right? So the fear of judgment is locking people into not being able to carry the ball forward and close the sale. Another sales fear is pressure to perform. And this is, of course, more, it's valid for professional sales reps because that's how they're judged and that's how they make their living. But guess what? So am I. And so is anybody else, a coach or consultant who has their own business. Geez, I hope I'm not getting a cough. Oh, bless me. Okay. So the pressure to perform, a research by Exactly, a sales publication, said that 73% of sales professionals report quota anxiety, while a business owner reports actually being able to pay their people anxiety or pay their bills anxiety. So quota anxiety is a real thing. Pressure to perform is a real thing, and it puts pressure on the selling. So for example, I'm in the process of buying a home, and one of the gentlemen who's helping me with the financing was feeling so much pressure, I guess, to sell that he literally multiple times told me, I'm on 100% commission here. And to hear that was a barrier for me because I now feel like I'm under pressure to buy from him regardless of what the offering is. But that's a negative for the person that's buying. So I want you to understand that one of the fears of selling should be that feeling that pressure, because once you feel that pressure, then you don't perform as well. You're not as good a sales rep. You're just like, the guy who's helping me finance, which doesn't land well with the client at all. Number 7 is uncertainty regarding the product or service. Now it's a little bit different for when you're a coach and consultant and you have your own products and services, but I've also run into that. And so it's different when you're a sales rep for a big company and you have to know, if it's technical, you have to know all the details and you're worried about if they ask me something that I can't respond to, or, we used to have regular PK trainings, their product knowledge trainings when I used to work for the liquor industry, because we had so many proliferation of SKUs and we had to know all the processes and deep knowledge about them. So that's a big deal for sure. So the CSO Insights said 22.2% cited the lack of PK as a top issue for their teams in terms of the C-suite. So the chief sales officer said that. But it's just as valid in my experience with coaches and consultants because they're unsure about how to package it. They're unsure about how to um, group, what to sell, what specifically to deliver. Because in most of the cases, they can sell everything and anything, and what modality to use and how to package that modality. So those are some of the things that contribute to the fear of selling. Number 8 is ethical fears. So Salesforce did a survey where they found that 54% of the sales pros, for them, ethical, being ethical is more important than making the sale, which is great. So that gives confidence to the people who are, buying from them. But sometimes ethical doesn't always align with what has to happen. Let's say they have to sell more of one product versus the other. Is that the real ideal match for what that client needs at that moment? And is there an ethical choice to reveal the other line that they're supposed to not be pushing, but push the line that's going to be extinct? These are ethical questions that they have to answer for themselves, and more than half of them are influenced by that. So that's another fear, is like, am I going to have to go up against ethical concerns? One of the biggest fears for example, healthcare professionals that I work with, that's a big one. What are they allowed to say or do? Are they allowed to sell? Are they allowed to market? Same with financial industries. Anything that's constrained by legislation, liabilities, things like that are really important considerations for selling, especially if you own your own business and or if you're targeting one of these constrained industries with lots of red tape. Okay, number 9, we're getting close to the end. Fear of failure, of course, right? The Bridge Group did a survey, a third, 32% of sales pros, their top challenge is failure. So, I mean, they've talked about a lot of top challenges here. So this research has pulled together a lot of different data, but basically, at the end of the day, if you don't make a sale and you are just back to square one and you have no sales for that month or that quarter, that's the biggest fear, is that what if it doesn't close? What if it doesn't close? What if I'm doing all this and it doesn't close? That's the biggest fear. It's not the fear of selling itself alone. It's the fear of selling stems from the fact that what if I do it wrong? And what if I'm not capable of landing a sale and closing? Lastly, of course, is the stigma. I remember doing trust research or looking at trust research, and sales reps and marketing and politicians were at the top of the least trusted, or the bottom of the most trusted professions. And the first trusted professions were teachers and firemen. I think nurses was another one. So huge stigma. So the Center for the Sales Strategy found that 50% of sales pros believe that there is a stigma to having a sales career. So it's kind of sad. I mean, I always talk about the if you're old enough to remember Three's Company, the TV show, with Jack Tripper, and his best friend was Larry, and Larry was a used car salesman, and he used to be such a liar, and he always told the ladies, he was such a ladies' man, he always told the ladies that he was a surgeon or an astronaut or a pilot, and he would get girls that way. But in reality, he was a used car salesman. And so that's what I associated growing up with what a salesperson did. It was not a positive association. Nobody had a positive idea of, being a sales rep being a great thing to be. All the trust surveys talk about that. So there is a stigma attached to selling. So I understand why, after you listen to all this top 10 fears of selling, why anybody would be signing up for a workshop called Never Ask for the Sale. But I am going to deliver on the promise to teach you how to never ask for the sale, because it's true. I do believe in never asking for the sale, because you never have to when you have certain things in place. But that doesn't mean that I'm on board with you being afraid of selling and thinking that selling is hurting people or a disservice to people or should be something to be ashamed of. I think it's helping people. I think it's serving people. I think it's ignorant of us not to place ourselves in the paths of people that we know we can help with a certain thing. And you should never be selling something you don't believe in. And you should never be selling something you don't think will help the people that you're talking to, because then that's doing a disservice to yourself and to them. And I'm sure there have been people that have found themselves in jobs where they've had to do that. But thank God, the people that I'm working with, the coaches and consultants, they have spent a lifetime of love, of labor, of love, creating this body of work where they're consulting and coaching and helping hold hands to and hold, a vision of a mirror up to their clients and help them resolve issues. And most people and most companies that I work with, most clients help people. They don't hurt them. So if you know that, why wouldn't it behoove you to actually look at sales as something that helps people, opens their eyes, opens doors, and helps put food on the table for your family and food on the table for theirs, and also solve their problems, whatever it is. So I hope that I've done a good sales job on both joining the masterclass on the 27th and 28th, but also on not making selling and sales, the profession, into the bad guy. Okay, everyone. Hope that was useful. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.